There is something about the Christmas season that makes me very nostalgic for childhood, for the fond memories of especially the Christmases growing up and remembering a lot of the good times. And I discovered a way to recapture that I wanted to share with you today. Stick around and I'll show you. Hello and welcome to Paper Pages and Possibilities. This is a definite special time of year. Christmas has always been one of my favorite times of the year because of the positive vibes that really goes around that you just feel everywhere. Yes, it's a lot of stress for a lot of people trying to get those last minute gifts, prepare for family coming over. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of extra good naturedness going around. People are extra generous, extra polite, doing more acts of kindness. And I love that this holiday inspires that. That's the kind of thing I wish could be year round. But I think if it was year round, it wouldn't be as special as it is. So, today, as promised, I am going to share with you how I came upon a way to kind of recapture some of the good vibes, the nostalgia from my younger years growing up in the holidays. And this was actually inspired by Mercedes at Beautiful Books. So a big shout out to her for the idea, and I will post the link to her video down below as well. But the way that I found to recapture some of that childhood joy, some of that nostalgia, is through recollecting and re-experiencing some of the books that I read in childhood. I am going to share with you today a collection of books that I have gotten. A couple I found from the library. The rest I got from a bookstore. I decided in the process of working on this video that I am going to start building a collection of books that give me nostalgia for my childhood and add that to my permanent collection. So some of these are going to be part of that. All right, so we'll just dive right in. I've got 9 books right here. So the first one is Paddington, and this one's called Love from Paddington by Michael Bond. There's a series of Paddington books, and what I actually remember more is watching the TV shows, but I also had a couple of Paddington books growing up that I absolutely love, adore. Paddington the bear is adorable. I had a Paddington the stuffed bear growing up. And one of the things, I picked this one specifically because there are letters in this. It's a series of letters, and let me show you. And I love how it looks. So that's one page, one of the first letters in the book, and I love the childlike writing at the very beginning, and the drawings are just so adorable. They're simple yet endearing. I love, and there's like the end, the love from Paddington. It's a character, a book series, a TV series that I enjoyed thoroughly growing up. Next up, we have Nancy Drew. I had many of the Nancy Drew books. I don't know if I ever had the full collection, but there are a lot. Looks like there's like over 50 titles altogether. I don't know if I would collect the full series because that's a lot of shelf space, but I might hunt for specifically the covers that I particularly remember from childhood and get those. So kind of a representative of that series in my childhood. So Nancy Drew, it's like first mystery stories, and there are some images in these as well. every so often. Yeah, this is definitely mystery was something I was a big fan of growing up. Between this and I watched Murder She Wrote with my mom pretty much every day. Those are some good memories. And next up, we have the BFG, stands for The Big Friendly Giant by Roald Dahl. This is really more representative than complete. Roald Dahl is one author that I read several books of growing up, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, its sequel, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, and the one that really stands out, I couldn't find it in the time that I had, but the one that stands out and is the one I really want to get is James and the Giant Peach. And this might be really hilarious, but the reason why I remember James and the Giant Peach so fondly at this point is it is the very first book I encountered as a youngster that had a cuss word in it. It's not one of the really bad ones. It's the other word for donkey. So, but that just it blew my mind seeing that I had a book with a cuss word in it, and it stands out to me. But I love BFG as well, as filled with it's a really cute story of this big friendly giant and this little girl who discovers him, and there's so much wordplay in this book that I was just flipping through it for a couple pages to get a refresh my memory, and I'm gonna reread this probably early next year because the word play, the odd words that get put in there, I think is gonna be fascinating. So, Roald Dahl and his books. Next up, this is probably one of my absolute favorite books and movies growing up. There was something about this story that really captured me, and I think I read the book multiple times. I watched the movie multiple times, and that is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. It is such a darling story about a young girl on a farm who saves a young piglet from being turned into a meal and raises the pig, and he becomes a very special pig throughout her life. But it's not just the pig, it's also the other characters that the pig Wilbur encounters throughout his life on the farm. He encounters a spider, who is Charlotte, and then there's a rat and other barn animals that it just creates this beautiful story. And this is the cover that I had, so I was really glad to find this one. All right, next up, this is not a book that I had specifically, but it reminds me of a book that I had and a movie that I enjoyed thoroughly growing up, as well as I had a small kids book about that was kind of a adaptation of the movie, and it had a miniature vinyl record that you could play as you were reading the book, and it's just something that really sticks out in my memory. But that story or that tale is The Dark Crystal. This is by Donna Bass and illustrated by Bruce McNally. It is a movie that was produced by Jim Henson, well known for the Muppets. And I loved this movie growing up. Loved watching it. It was very fascinating. It was one of the earliest, I think, fantasy series or fantasy stories that I encountered. And the creatures that are in the story are just very fantastical but adorable as well. And it tells a very fascinating story. It's probably not a young kid's story, but maybe about 10 and above, because there are some dark parts to it. Some very I would say, distressing parts. At least it was for me at the time. So, and I'm talking about the movie. The book may not be nearly as stressful, but the movie definitely was. So, Dark Crystal, absolutely love the whole world that this is set in. Is beautiful. Next up is one that's probably going to be very familiar for a lot of people, and as I was researching it, I noticed that this has been around for a very long time and been a kid's book for many people growing up. It looks like it originally published in 1941 and renewed in 1969. And that is Curious George. Curious George is a little monkey that the man in the yellow hat discovers and takes back home with him, and you see the trials and tribulations of Curious George as he gets into all sorts of trouble because of his curiosity. And this one in particular, I believe, is like the original book, but there's been many others that have been published, like additional stories, since the first one was published. So, I absolutely love this. It was big memories from childhood. So, I had to get that one. This one is currently a library book, so I do still need to get a permanent copy for myself, but I wanted to show this. And finally, this is a series of books that when I thought about books from my childhood, this series is the one that I want to get every single book of and go back and look through every single one of them. Such fond memories. Like, I can picture the covers of these books, and I was lucky enough to find 3 of them at my local used bookstore. And these are books by Stephen Cosgrove, illustrated by Robin James. This one is called Serendipity. And they, like, just the art and the creatures, absolutely adorable. Like, I love everything about this. And the stories are cute. They're very sweet stories. And the creatures are absolutely adorable. Like, this one is a dragon, I think. It looks like a dragon. There are several other creatures, so it does have the one that I haven't gotten yet is Mingling, which is about a panda. Total of 42 of these books that I'm gonna get, and I've got 3 right now. So this is the first one, Serendipity. Next we have Minikin. It's a little lamb. And these pictures, they just bring back memories. And then Flutterby. This is one I think that I remember most. Could be because blue is my favorite color, but this is one that I remember very much. It's like the cover that comes to mind when I think about this series. Yeah, it's just absolutely adorable. It's a very miniature, I guess, Pegasus type creature, and gets into all sorts of trouble, is helped out by other creatures like ants, and has an encounter with a bumblebee. So just, I cannot wait to have all of these in my collection. So I had to share. I figured that's perfect for the holiday season. I'm really curious if you have a similar feeling that I do, starting to feel a lot of nostalgia when it gets to the holiday season. Let me know in the comments. I'd really love to know what gives you nostalgia. So if it's not the holidays, what gives you nostalgia? And also, I would love to hear what some books are that you remember from childhood. And if you have seen any of the ones that I've read, have read any of the ones that I've read, definitely would love to chat about them with you. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.